Thank you for everyone who joined us today, and we're going to get rolling with our topic today. We touched on this topic, I believe it was a few months ago, but we're coming back to it on how to manage collections in your office, very specifically with measuring collections. There are two ways that we recommend as best practices, and I'm not sure there's a third or fourth way to measure collections. Number one is, did all your visits get paid? And number two is, did they get paid the right amount? So today we're actually focusing on that second portion of how do you know if your visits got paid the right amount? So that'll be our topic of discussion, and we're going to make some disclaimers here right at the beginning. Is the right amount is specific when it comes to all the insurance companies that you're in network with, and a little more of a guesstimate when we're talking about all of the payers that are out of network. So we're going to go through, to the best of our ability, our options, but if you know a number that you should be getting paid for an insurance company, we're going to talk about how you can make sure that we are going to, number one, identify an underpayment, number two, create workflow that will assign that underpayment to a specific person, and then number three, make sure you can follow up on it and know that you got paid the right amount. So practices are constantly concerned and worried about whether or not their collections are what they're supposed to be. And it's a challenge to try and come up with some formula or algorithm to make sure you got that. So I want to talk about, first of all, measuring collections, and then, second, whether or not you guys can utilize the tools that we're talking about to measure your underpayments or potential underpayments. So collections, when we are talking about a practice and you look at a number in the upper right-hand corner here, and I'll make it a slightly bigger, and I know we can use a few of our tools here to help annotate this. You've got collections. Oh,
you're going to select the color.
You're looking at, this area up here of $27,000 that you're going to get paid, in this month. How do you know that's the right number? Well, each and every time that you look at that, you have to be thinking to yourself, could I be getting more? Every doctor I talk to thinks, or a practice owner thinks, they could be getting more. If all of your visits have been paid and you check out that every single one of your dates of service has had a payment posted to it, the next logical question is, how do I know that that got paid the right amount? So how do I get rid of that?
X to the top.
X to the top, perfect. And today we're going to bring you over to a couple of other accounts, and we're going to show you two reports that will work and help you understand. The first is your billing stats report. Your billing statistics report will help you run some trend analyses. And what I've done here is I've opened up our billing statistics report under billing analytics, billing stats. And the first thing I've done is selected a date range. For this particular report, I selected all the way from January 1st to December 31st of 2015, so looking at the entire calendar year. And there's a lot of useful information that comes in a billing statistics report. Not every single column or piece of information will be something you're going to want to look at each time. But I selected two metrics to marry together for this particular report. You'll notice that I put this in, I've sorted this into a month-over-month range as I'm doing month of service. So what this means is all of the dates of service that happened in that particular month. So I don't care if you build it out late. You could have built a January date of service in April, but it would still be counted here for the month of service of January. And then I chose CPT codes, because any of you providers that are in network with an insurance company, your contractual agreements will be either paid by visit or paid by CPT code. Here we're focusing on paid by CPT code. And we can see here that you're going to have a total number of claims of 567, $50,960 billed out. But more importantly, you can see how much is on average paid by charge for each one of those months for the CPT code of 97110. And you can see here that it is not a consistent number month over month. All right? So what causes this fluctuation? Obviously, there are balances left in some of these months, and anytime there's a balance, means you've been paid zero for that particular type of line item, so that's going to drag your average down. But this will give you a ballpark estimate, and your average of getting paid $48.28 for each visit that you had a 97110 is something you can look at. Let's take it a step further with another way to slice the information. How much am I going to get paid for a 97110? I ran the same exact billing statistics report, but I chose 3 columns of information to choose. So not only am I looking at month of service, CPT code, but now let's just say I want to look at my Blue Cross Blue Shield claims. Why do I want to look at the Blue Cross Blue Shield claims? Because if I have a contract with Blue Cross Blue Shield, I should be consistently getting paid the same amount for a specific CPT code. We can look at this information, track it, and then see whether or not you're getting the right amount month over month for those CPT codes. And if you look at this from this perspective, here we're looking at still a fluctuation from $50.45 to $64.31. This is the traditional way that practices go about tracking how much they're getting paid. They run reports based on what's getting paid. I would submit to you here, this is not the most efficient way of doing this. We have come up with a better way of going about this. This range of $50.45 all the way up to $64.84, how are you supposed to make heads or tails? And if you want to get real information, you're going to have to dig into each claim. This is too laborious for any practice to do consistently or over long periods of time. You're going to get frustrated. You're going to run out of steam. You're going to run out of gas. You're not going to keep this up. So we figured out a much better way of going about this. Because running again, I can't speak for any other system, but we do have people that transfer over from other systems, and they do have these very manual ways of going about things. And yeah, we can get this information for you. However, we took a snapshot of some real data from one of our practices. And so in this particular case, we're going to look at that. Just from a demo perspective, we didn't want to include real practice information, and we wanted to give you an exact idea of what type of information and how we as a company can partner with you as our clients or anybody who's considering us to make sure that we take care of avoiding any underpayments and making sure your visits get paid the right amount, not necessarily in real time, but we can identify an underpayment immediately. So we're going to walk you through this tool that we have, and we can show you how to access it on our demo account, but here is some real information for a real practice that just so happens to be here in New Jersey, and this is run for the last few months for them. Jess, do you mind walking them through what this means and how they can utilize it?
Sure. So what this report is going to show you is the allowed amounts that you have been given back from insurance. It is broken down by the rendering practitioner, which we actually have cut off on the screen. But then for each rendering practitioner, you have the CPT, the payer, and how many units were billed out during the date range. There is a date range down at the bottom. We can do 90 days at a time. Right now, we're only doing a month, but it does go up to 90 days. And then you can see that the total amount that was charged out, the price per unit of that procedure, and then we give you, the system calculates for you the minimum allowed and the maximum allowed that you've received on those claims during that time period. And then we also give you the average amount allowed on those claims. So this allows you to get the information to let you know how much have you been receiving, what's the lowest you've ever received, what's the most you've ever received, and what's your typical allowed amount for this CPT, for this rendering practitioner, for this payer. And then in the last field, which is actually a text field, right now we only have 2 fields filled in, but this allows you to enter what the amount you're expecting to be allowed for that CPT from that payer. That way, if the system detects ever that we have a claim that went out and that CPT that you have filled in an amount in this minimum expected column, if we receive an allowed amount that's less than that, the system will automatically flag it. Now, this system is only going to flag claims for this minimum expected amount if this minimum expected amount has been entered before that claim was sent out. The claim actually records the minimum expected amount at the time of creation. So if you go in and fill this in right now, any claims you sent out in the past couple weeks, past couple months, it's not going to have that minimum expected amount on the claim, so it won't be flagging anything. But going forward, the system will be able to automatically detect those lower allowed amounts and reject those claims so someone can follow up with insurance and determine why the allowed amount is less than you were expecting.
Well, allowed amounts are interesting because a lot of providers just say, why can't we put in the payment amount I'm expecting to get? Well, for a lot of reasons, we can't do that. I'll go over a couple of the big ones here, and just feel free to complement this if you feel that it's not complete. But there are different plans within an insurance company. You can be in or out of network with an insurance company, but if you put in the expected amount that you want to get paid, is that paid by insurance or is it paid by the patient? We could go that direction, but the total amount that you should be allowed to get paid for this particular CPT code, rendering physician, and insurance company combination is specific for those ones that you're in network with. Whether or not they're going to pay 70% of it and the patient's going to pay 30, or whether or not they're going to pay 80% of it and the patient's going to pay 20. We don't necessarily know that at the time that the claim is being created. However, we do know if the allowed amount comes back lower, there's no way you're going to get the right amount of money. So we're going to flag this claim as you're going to be underpaid automatically, whether or not it's from the patient and or the insurance company. We put that allowed amount in there, as we've been calling it a report, but I guess it's not really fair to call it a report because not only does it report over a 90-day period the number of units that were billed out, but it takes that average. You can also set thresholds for that allowed amount. If it goes below it, that we will then create a workflow. That workflow is going to automatically reject the claim. It's going to send it to the billing team workbench, and the billing team will then have the instruction to call up the insurance company and ask why they had the audacity to give you an allowed amount that was lower than what your agreed upon amount is. So this is going to not only help you detect them, but it also gives direction and assigns work to an actual person to help you rectify this particular situation. And you know, we've caught a lot of underpayments over the years, and actually we've done some pretty extensive analysis on this. They'll underpay almost any code, but we noticed that the codes for your orthotics, like your L codes and your braces, are underpaid on a much higher frequency than your therapeutic exercises, your adjustments, your manual therapy, things like that. So keep that in mind. Those are your higher ticket items generally, and those are the ones that they'll often underpay. And whether or not they're doing it maliciously or accidentally, I will leave for you to decide. And Jess will obviously open up her mouth if she wants to chime in on the nature of insurance companies. But we want to make sure that you're not spending time looking at reports, making sure your visits are getting paid the right amount. Especially if you're in network, we can take your contractual amounts, enter them in here for the payer CPT code physician combinations, and have the system do the work for you. That way, when you look at the reports, you simply get a confirmation that you're getting paid the right amount. Or if you don't see that confirmation, you'll be able to see the fruits of the labor of our team who is going after the insurance company, making sure that they're not going to get away with the underpayments. But that brings us to the next point, and that is, can I use this for my out-of-network payments? Well, there are two answers to that, and I'm going to be really definitive here. I feel like I'm running for office. Yes and no. If you accept allowed amounts and you send claims out where you're going to accept allowed amounts, the answer is yes. If you're not accepting allowed amounts, then really whatever you're billing the patient, you expect to billing the insurance company, whatever the payment you receive from the insurance company, the expectation is that you're going to balance bill your patient. You can put an amount in here even if you're out of network. If you're consistently getting paid, $50 for your 98943 out of network from Blue Cross Blue Shield, and you want to make sure you get flagged on anything below that amount, you can put that in there even for your out of network claims, and it will flag it if that allowed amount drops below $50, asking the question, hey, you've done this before, what changed now? Why did you reduce my allowed amount on my out of network claims now? So that answer, yes and no, again, recapping, yes, exactly for your out-of-network claims where you're accepting allowed amounts, no and yes for your out-of-network claims where you're not. If you don't have a high volume, it may not make sense to put that allowed amount in there, but if you have a high volume and you know what the allowed amounts should be, we can still enter that in there and equip you guys to detect underpayments for your out-of-network claims. So really this tool is out there, and I'll show everyone how to get to it at this point. So,
not that one.
Yeah, you'll head over to Reports, Billing Analytics. I'll just make this a little bigger. Reports, Billing Analytics, and your payer allowed amount. And you'll have to put in a date range. And this is a dummy account, so we're not going to have any data in here. So you'll put this in, and if you did have line items in here, you could sort, filter. You can also export to Excel, should you want to, by clicking in the lower left-hand corner for what looks like an Excel spreadsheet. It'll put it in a CSV value for you to enter into either Google Sheets, Excel, any sort of spreadsheet program. So to recap, underpayments are going to happen. If they haven't happened to you already, they're going to happen to you in the future. We record at least a 5 to 7% catch rate on underpayments. Sometimes there are false positives. False positives will happen, especially if there's some odd plan that comes in for an insurance company that isn't mapped. We will sometimes flag a claim. However, most of the time, it's really an underpayment, and we really need to figure out why. And I suggest that we get aggressive as possible with this, because the second an insurance company sees that you're not paying attention is where they can really take advantage. And that's today's topic. I'll open it up to any sort of questions you guys have. Feel free to type them in on how you can utilize this type of tool in your practice.
Yeah, so on the left-hand side of your screen, you should see a chat box. If you cannot see it, there's a button up at the top that will say Show Chat, and there will be a text box down at the bottom where you can enter any of your questions.
We had a couple conversations about some J codes. We've got a lot of our practices that are doing trigger point injections, and the J code for one type of drug is different than J code for another type of drug.
Mm-hmm.
And when they're so different in one aspect, because you're performing the same exact procedure for all of your different patients, but they've got very different insurance companies. And Blue Cross Blue Shield will pay $200 per unit, but Aetna will only pay $35. So it's not like these things are uniform across the board where they're all getting paid about the same amount. Somebody puts an allowed amount in there of $35 on your one where you expect 200, and you're missing out on a lot of money. So we have to get really specific with these things, and we see it happen with the higher ticket items all the time. So we'll keep this open for a few more minutes. Anybody's welcome to type in or ask any question about pretty much any topic right now. We're happy to help. We've updated the rejection notices as well to be more specific here recently to the teams with better instructions so that they know exactly what to do.
We're actually working on a help page for the underpayments right now.
All right. All right, guys, if there are no other questions, we'll end for today, and we will be back next week. Thank you so much.